In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the homework problems that involve linear inequalities and systems of linear inequalities in MyLab. So we're going to look at this homework problem here. This is question 1. I've already done the first part, which is selecting the correct inequalities based on the information given. So what I'm going to do is graph the line and the inequality in Desmos. And so you see I've done that here. I'm not going to bother to do the x greater than 0 and y greater than 0 parts because I know what those are supposed to look like. But I graphed the 5x plus 10y greater than or equal to 40. And then what I'm going to do in MyLab is you will see the button that says click to enlarge graph. And that's where you need to click in order to bring up the graphing window. Now, this isn't quite as nice as Desmos because you can't just type in the equation that you want to graph, you have to actually plot the points. But if I have my graph on Desmos, it can help me figure out how to do that. So when you're using the graphing tool, the first thing you're going to do is select the line. You will see there's different shapes here that we could graph, parabolas, circles, different kinds of things. We're graphing a line here, so we're going to select that. And then we see some options here for making the line solid or dashed. And so we use a solid line if our inequality is greater than or equal to or less than or equal to. If we switch that to just greater than or just less than, you can see that in Desmos it changes to a dashed line. So since I'm doing greater than or equal to, I'm using a solid line. So I'll leave it on that. And then I can use the points in Desmos to plot my points in MyLab. So I see one point at 0, 4, that's the intercept. I just click on that and it tells me what it is. So I'm going to plot the point at 0, 4. And the scale on these is sometimes pretty small, like you can see. Sometimes it's a little hard to tell what you're clicking on, but if you look, you see in the upper right corner, it's telling me the coordinates of where I'm clicking. So I usually look at that because I find that that is helpful in terms of helping me get the correct point. And then my other point, if I go over here, is 8, 0. So I'm going to go back to my graph and click on 8, 0, click that down, and then it plots both of my points. So now I need to also remember to graph my x greater than or equal to 0 and y greater than or equal to 0 lines. And so I'm going to click those in, again by clicking on 2 points, any 2 points along the x-axis, and then any 2 points along the y-axis. And again, I'm looking up here in the upper right to make sure that I am staying on that axis if it's a little hard to see. So once I click those in, it's easy to forget to graph the inequalities on the axes, but MyLab will remind you if you don't have it right. And then I'm going to use the paint bucket for the shading. Now I can see over here that my diagonal line is shaded above the line. And then I know that I'm going to do greater than y greater than 0, and x greater than 0, so it's going to be this first quadrant. Now when you're doing the shading in MyLab, you only shade the area of the overlap, so it's different from Desmos. Desmos shades all of the colors, all of the lines, and then you look for where the colors overlap. In MyLab, you only shade where all of the shadings overlap. So I'm not going to shade over here, and I'm not going to shade down here. I'm only shading where all of the 3 shaded areas overlap. So I'm just shading, it's going to be this area. So I should only be shading, again, one area of the graph. So I click that down. If I want to, like maybe I clicked on the wrong place, I can delete it by hitting delete. I could also delete one of my lines if I thought they were incorrect by hitting delete. The clear button will clear everything on the graph so that you can start over. So that's my graph. I'm going to click save, and then I will see the graph here in the problem and then check my answer and make sure it's correct.